welcome. I'm Joyce Tseng, and here's what happened this week. This year marks the 78th anniversary of the 228 incident, a painful day for many in Taiwan who lost family members in the violent government crackdown. Tiffany Wong spoke with some of the victims' families who came from overseas to remember their loved ones.
Pain still etched raw decades later. Families remember their loved ones 78 years after a brutal crackdown by the Chinese nationalist Kuomintang beginning on February 28, 1947, now known as the 228 incident. Some estimate that over 20,000 people were killed in the weeks that followed. Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te addressed the victims' families for the first time since taking office, saying his government would aim to see the perpetrators of the incident held responsible.
目前台湾社会也佫有声音，为何只有受害者并无加害者？受害真相为何悠然不明？这款的代志，除了无法度完全告慰受难者以及家属，社会嘛无法度得到真正的和解。
The 228 incident was a prelude to decades of state violence that followed. 38 years of martial law known as the White Terror. During that time, 228 became a forbidden topic. Discussing it could land you in prison. It wasn't until much later, the 1990s, when Taiwan became a democracy, that the government began to acknowledge the suffering of the victims. February 28th was made a national holiday. And now people come from near and far to commemorate loved ones lost in the violence. People like 19-year-old Megan Huang, who came with her family from the U.S. to honor her great-grandfather.
Because we didn't really know much about the event and kind of the details and the truth of what happened. So this whole trip was very eye-opening to learning about family history and I guess just learning about what happened.
81-year-old Aoyama Keisho lost his father when he was just 3 years old during the incident, the only known Japanese victim. He comes back every year from Okinawa to pay respects to his father.
台湾の人々も3万人近くの方々が犠牲になってとても悲しい事件。やっぱり日本の私もやはり同じような気持ちで台湾の人々の犠牲者家族と一緒になって弔いたいと思っています。今では私の孫も連れてきます。孫にも絶対伝えていきたいと思っています。
But even now, many believe the wrongs of the past still haven't been fully addressed. No one has been punished for their role in 228, and the Kuomintang remains a powerful political force in Taiwan.
国民政府说他是暴民，他当头子，现场被枪毙。以前都是国民政府都不来了。 时代有在改变的，台湾人也可以做总统啊，所以才会来。
Here at the National 228 Memorial Museum, the long silent suffering of the victims is finally given voice. It's a space to honor them, to mourn them, and to educate the next generation so their lives are not forgotten. Alex Chen and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Every year ahead of the 228 Memorial Day, one activist in Taipei honors his brother's legacy of advocating for transitional justice. Wesley Lewis has the story.
For nearly a decade, 71-year-old Tseng has been leading this annual march to commemorate what's known in Taiwan as the 228 incident, an anti-government uprising on February 28, 1947, and its subsequent violent crackdown. He's taken up the baton from his late older brother Zheng Nanrong, a well-known activist who organized some of the country's first 228 memorial events back in 1987, which were largely met with police suppression.
1987年，郑南榕他坚持穿西装，走在这个街头上，等于一种抗议的作为。然后他说，如果我被视为暴民，我也要很有尊严的表现出我这个暴民的这个身份出来啊，这是他所坚持。因此，我们这个行动呢，都希望能够的话，至少穿黑色服装。那如果穿西装更好。
The bloody government crackdown of the uprising on February 28, 1947, saw thousands of protesters killed and triggered mistrust, resentment, and intense socio-political divisions within Taiwanese society for years to come. This was when the Republic of China government, led by the Kuomintang, was trying to consolidate its rule over Taiwan. It was followed by a 38-year period of martial law and what's known as the White Terror, an era characterized by the political repression of dissent.
Now, almost 80 years after the 228 incident, the victims of state violence are honored here at the 228 Peace Memorial Park. Established in 1996, it stands in the heart of Taipei, and it's one of the stops for this year's commemorative march.
After Taiwan became a democracy in the 1990s, the government began to acknowledge the harm caused by the 228 incident. But activists here say it's important, now more than ever, to keep fighting to memorialize the event. They point to recent sweeping government budget cuts, to governmental human rights offices as a threat to advocacy work, a concern shared by political scholars.
So National Human Rights Commission is responsible for promoting the human rights issues, human rights education, and also the international connections. But it's stashed for more than 90% of its budget. So its capacity to promote education and for the victims, memorial events are highly limited right now.
Which is why for these demonstrators holding vigil in Taipei, it's important to show up like this every year, to exercise their hard-fought right to mark this painful chapter in the country's history, and continue the fight for transitional justice. A fight that is deeply personal for someone like Tseng, who is determined to keep speaking truth to power, advocating for awareness of an event that still shapes contemporary Taiwanese society. Howard Zhang and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
As technology advances, it becomes harder to prevent people from abusing it. One exhibition in Taipei seeks to draw attention to the trauma of online sexual violence and fight the stigmas around it. Tiffany Wong went to learn more.
You find yourself in an exhibition space upstairs. It's just an exhibition.
Stepping into another life, but it could be yours, or your sister's, or your friend's. This is They Told Me It's Not Your Fault, and I Told Them Everything Would Be Fine, a 20-minute single-viewer exhibition by Taiwanese artist Tseng. It was inspired by the massive blackmail and cyber sex trafficking operation known as Nth Room that was discovered in South Korea. In it, the narrator takes the viewer into a relationship with an online acquaintance through text messages, which then take a dark turn when their private images have somehow been used to create explicit deepfakes, video generated with artificial intelligence using a real person's image. The artist drew on the stories of many women to create the narrative in the exhibition. But the exhibition is meant to say more about societal reactions rather than reconstruct the sense of violation an individual might feel after having their image misused.
And I kept thinking that, imagine a society where we don't judge anyone's nude. Then the blackmail wouldn't work, right? Like, you know, so if I don't mind anyone seeing my nude, no one would judge me. I wouldn't lose my job. I wouldn't lose my degree and stuff. My family would support me. Yeah, I'll leak it. I wouldn't care. I don't want to say more to you. So I feel like we kind of like underestimate how powerful we are as a society. We think like, oh, we are not part of this. They're victim, they're perpetrator. We're not part of it. But I really feel like how society behave will really influence the situation.
The exhibition is part of RightsCon, a major annual human rights conference taking place for the first time in Taipei. At the center of discussions, technology and its uses and abuses.
Technology itself is neutral, but what it is used for, that can be detrimental for societies. And we're trying to strike the balance between, you know, not painting everything in black and saying everything, technology is bad, don't do it, don't use it. That would be such a loss because it can be so convenient and make our lives so much easier.
But new media products like deepfakes are hard to moderate, part of a growing list of online gender-based violence like stalking and sexual harassment. The United Nations estimates 16 to 58% of women have experienced this abuse. 98% of deepfake videos created are pornographic, featuring women. And while the videos are fake, they can have very real consequences.
We've seen that violence that happens online, and for example, deepfakes, but not only, that can be used against women, will have effects that come back to real life in terms of mental health effects. And we've seen even suicide attempts of women that have been victims of deepfakes, women in politics that have withdrawn for politics. So those consequences, it's a long list.
By spending 20 minutes in a stranger's shoes, the artist hopes to spread a little more empathy and a little less judgment as one way to cope with technology's advances before its regulation can catch up. Kama Sri, Chris Ma, Ryan Wu, Reese Ayers, and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has clinched a spot at next year's World Baseball Classic after beating Spain on Tuesday 6-3. Leslie Liao has more.
Sweet catharsis. Taiwanese baseball fans waited eagerly for this moment after going into a do-or-die match against Team Spain at the Taipei Dome on Tuesday. At stake was a spot in next year's World Baseball Classic, the world's premier baseball tournament. Taiwan pulled off a 6-3 win.
感觉很开心啊，非常开心，因为我2026我也要到。
As the number 2 ranked baseball team in the world, and coming hot off a win at the Premier 12 tournament, Team Taiwan faced immense pressure to deliver big at the qualifiers, where it played as Chinese Taipei.
当然，在这一次的一个资格赛，其实每个人都觉得一定会赢。
Taiwan, Spain, Nicaragua, and South Africa competed for 2 spots at next year's Classic. Nicaragua secured the first open spot after finishing first in the round-robin stage, going undefeated with 3 wins. South Africa, meanwhile, dropped out of the running after losing all 3 of its opening stage games. Caught in the middle of the rankings were Taiwan and Spain, who had to play one last decisive match to see who got the final spot.
前几场我们对西班牙输，对尼加拉瓜也输，然后这场比赛我们势必要拿下来。我们没有拿下来的话，我们什么都没有。
Staring down the barrel of elimination, Team Taiwan went all in its rematch with Spain, calling up ace pitcher Tseng to start. Tseng held Spain to 2 earned runs over 3 innings before handing the ball over to Xu Ruoxi. Xu gave up a home run to Spain in the 6th inning, but managed to strike out 5 batters.
上了场就做自己最擅长的事情，不要去想这么多事情。
Then Sun Yilei, who pitches in the Japanese Professional Baseball League, faced a bases-loaded 1-out situation in the 7th, but got out of the jam after striking out 2 in a row.
直球一直丢进去，就有一个保送了之后，转泪点在变速球吧。我觉得后面变速球有掉进去之后，就给自己蛮大的信心。
Closing pitcher Tseng Junyue closed out the 9th inning, and the rest is history. Tuesday's win comes as a relief for Taiwan's baseball fans. And next year at the World Baseball Classic, Team Taiwan won't be looking to earn a spot among the best, but to prove to the world that it is the best. Patrick Tseng, Sandy Chi, and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching. Here's what happened. Before we go, join us at the Pet Expo in Vietnam, where dogs and cats are showcasing the latest trends. I'm Joyce, take care and see you next time.